Okay, let me see. Do we have sound? Sound looks like we got sound. Pull you guys back over here. No, I don't need you large. Mute. Okay, I got one guy watching, so that's fine. My streaming software on the backside does not tell me what's going on, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. I hate this stuff. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Whoever's watching, can you hear me? Okay, well, let me see here. Can you do display? Set up my other... I don't need that up. Alright. Hello guys, I think I'm ready. Working on trying to get things set up. I didn't have enough time yesterday. I did a long range shooting competition, so I wasn't really prepared this morning. I tried to get some stuff ready for today, but not so much. Hey, Windsor, and thank you guys for showing up. We got 3 people watching now, so we'll see how this goes. So I want to throw up, do like I did last time, throw a picture, and we can either talk about it, because I really don't have much of a subject to talk about today. You guys got questions, throw them at me. Just, we'll roll with what we got. So, like I said, this morning I got some much needed sleep. I woke up a little bit late, made myself some breakfast, had steak and eggs, and throw all my stuff off my table. So if you guys got anything, volume is good today. Thank you. I noticed that. I got a little bar. That was one of the first things I checked this morning was my volume. I do have an echo. Not sure what that is about. Maybe it's recording off both my cameras, I don't know. Again, I'm trying to get used to using all this stuff. I do have 2 microphones running. Mic and cam. There we go. That should fix it. It was recording off my camera as well as my microphone, so that should solve the problem. We good? We good? I got delay in chat. Okay, cool. All right. So let me see. So Windsor, I don't know if where you're at money-wise, but I know that the kid that's in here with you, Luna, hello. I know that Tran there, he's a high school. He's a high school kid, and he's learning. So he's in here trying to get as much information about construction as possible. He's trying to figure out if that's the path he wants to take. It sounds like all the talking that I had with him has been very positive, that it looks like he does want to go this direction. So he's just trying to get as much information as possible through here. So might kind of concentrate on some of the nuances, something that a youthful person would want to know. So if you got anything to shoot out there, guys, just spit it out into the comments so we can get a good conversation going, and maybe bring up some ideas that'll trigger my ADHD to take off in one direction instead of being like a shotgun effect. So one of the things I do want to talk on or get started on is I'm pushing this application Sircles with an S. And basically it's an app that I'm going to be using, or I am using currently. It helps me find places to eat food. Like, I'm going to a new job here pretty soon that's in a different city. So the cool thing about this application is I've got a chat room already set up in there, so I can talk directly with guys all day long. And it's always running, so anytime anyone posts something in there, it pops up on my phone. I've got my notifications on my phone going for it. And the other things that it's really good with is, especially for in construction, because we're moving around job site to job site, and what it does is it allows me to have a circle of friends within the company or out in the industry, family, whatever you want to choose as your friends. The app basically gives you recommendations based on your location. And so if you want to go get some food, so you're out of town, you're working, you don't know where a good food place is, you open up the Sircles app, you go to food, and it pops up a map of your local area, and there's people that you trust that's in your circle of trust, hence Sircles. And what happens is you guys can just look at it and say, oh, these people have recommended these places to eat. So instead of just bouncing around trying place and place and place and trying to find a good place to eat, you have a recommendation from someone you trust, and you go straight there and you just eat good food, based on what you're looking for. So I'm going to throw up a link, their homepage, so you guys can just go check it out on your own. So this will be all I do for this today. I'll pin that. Alright, so I have my wrong glasses on. I cannot. Now, these glasses are good for me to see at a little bit of a distance, but for reading, I gotta go to my thicker ones. Hey, look at that. Now I can read. Tran, I got a question for you, Shane. Is it stressful working on gas pipelines? Working on a gas pipeline, installing them? No, not at all. Because we don't actually do the tie-in to the live line. The gas company will come out and do that tie-in. So putting the pipe in the ground is like any other pipe. It's dry. It doesn't have anything in it. It's empty. You just dig the ditch. You throw the pipe in, cover it with whatever material. Around here, it's a certain type of sand, what we call PG&E sand. And it's a requirement for that type of pipe, or plastic pipe. We don't do much steel gas lines anymore. Most of it's all the yellow PVC type, or HDPE pipe. So it's very flexible. So not stressful at all for installing. But if you talk about digging around live lines, yeah, that can be a bit stressful if it's an unknown area. So they come out, you get your USAA, you get your mark that they come out and they just put it on the ground. And I do actually have my example photo that I can throw up. Where did I put that? We'll transition over to that. There we go. Okay, so You can see the gas line is on the left side. It's got the little flame above it. If you were, say, digging across the street from right to left, you'd expose all these lines. And we talked about this last week, that there would be, everything's marked out on the top of the road. You'd have a USAA ticket that would have all the companies come out, mark all their lines, then you dig around it so you have a good idea where that line is. What the rules are today is a non-mechanical vacuum truck basically comes out, sprays water. We touched on it last week, and they just cut the dirt out without actually damaging the pipe. So they locate the pipe, so we know exactly where it is, the depth, angle, all that stuff, and then we can dig around it without worry of hitting it. So as long as we have all the information and the location of the pipe, to me it's not that big of a deal. We just dig around it, we go about it. I keep my 1-2 feet, whatever is required, away from the pipeline, and the guys hand shovel the soft stuff, and I'll actually get in pretty close to the pipes to expose them as best as possible, and then the guys will do a finishing dig within about a foot of the pipe, depending on what type of pipe. If it's the gas line, if it's a major gas line, like oil gas line, oil or gasoline gas line, which these things are hugely regulated. Most likely those are a high pressure, up to 700 psi. You touch them, you blow up. And there are examples of that actually happening throughout our history. Lines going kaboom. But we actually, all right, we'll go into story time. I know a operator. I was a grade setter when I was an apprentice. I worked with him as the ground man. He wound up quitting our company, went to another company, a much larger company, made more money working with that company. And he was digging on a project, and there was a known gas line that they were near, and it was running parallel, so side by side, just like what we saw in the picture. The lines were all running down the street. Well, they potholed every 100 feet, and they were required to pothole every 50 feet. And what had happened is, in between that 100 feet, those two 100-foot potholes, in the middle, at a 50-foot location, the pipeline did like that. And this is meant for expansion of the pipe moving this way. Yeah, I know that looks funny, but there was a V in it that allowed whatever expansion stress on the pipe to be allowed to flex a little bit. And that pipe came across their trench and back across. And this was, I don't know, I think it was a 12-inch petroleum line, and the operator punched a hole right through this gas line. Now, that gas line was probably about 8 feet deep. They were trenching at about, 18, 19 feet deep, pretty deep, in a shield that was, and the trench was about, I think it was 4 or 5 feet wide, with solid shoring in it, a shield. And so all this gas just starts shooting down the trench. Now, the pipe they were installing was welded steel line. So they had 2 welders that were in the hole welding a joint of pipe together while the operator was digging his next set. And this is a slow process because you got to wait for the welders and stuff like that. So you got 2 or 3 shields behind you, so you got like 30 foot of ditch open. And everyone started screaming and stuff like that. And there was so you had your bottom man that checks grade. He was in the hole, and the 2 welders were in the hole. So the gas goes flying down there. Everyone went to go shut off the electricity to the welders that were on the top side. Didn't quite make it. The gasoline or the petroleum hit the welders, ignited, killed 3 guys in the hole. The foreman on the job had leaned over the trench, was looking down into the trench when it ignited. He got a face full of a ball of fire. He went to the hospital. The operator got to watch all this happen. He got to watch 3 guys die and 1 guy, his boss, and his friend get burned. And he was fairly well traumatized by this, you could say. And it wasn't a good ordeal. I did meet him like a year or 2 after it happened. And, I talked a little bit about it, and he really didn't want to talk about it. And, he wound up getting up and leaving because it was too much of a stressful event for him. And wound up a couple of years after that, he did wind up, doing a Ryan Reynolds on himself. So that was all a bad situation. And that's the kind of stuff that when you have lines like that and you don't do your due diligence and pothole it the way you're supposed to do your job, bad things happen. And it's an unfortunate event that did happen. And it's well documented too. There's no videos of it or anything like that, but I have seen some of the photos from the safety guy at that company that showed the puncture hole, and it wasn't just a little tooth just tap it. He put a hole in the gas line about that big. It's oof. Yeah, I mean, those are the kinds of situations that would keep me awake at night. And I don't stress over stuff. I have a low stress personality, and makes it easy for me to do things like this. And when I come home, I can turn this stuff off pretty easy. So I hope that answers your question. So that was a little story that may trip some of you out. It is a bit of a bummer, but it's real world. Things like that happen. So you always have to be mindful of what's going on, what you're doing. And like some of my videos, the way I dig, I'm always in search mode unless there's a 100% guarantee that there's nothing in the ground. And then I dig like I'm a rip and tear. Okay, so we'll get back into some of the comments back here. Oh, nice. A lot of it depends on your area. If you can get a company that works year round, that's the best. But normally in my area, guys only work about 8 months out of the year because of the weather. This is a very good point. This is seasonal work. So depending on what you choose, underground can work year round, depending on your location. And I know some people that work year round, even in the freezing cold. So much so that they can never shut the machines off. Like way up north in Idaho and stuff like that, you get permafrost in the ground. Once you get the permafrost to get I think he told me about 1 foot thick. I have a guy that I know. I know a lot of people over the long term of doing this, but they would use a dozer with a giant ripper to rip through the permafrost so the excavator could dig. So basically the top 1 foot of the ground turns to a block of ice, and if you can't dig through that, then the job shuts down. If you're to a certain point that they just say it's not worth the amount of money we're throwing at it, like I said, a 1 foot, they can get a dozer in there and rip through it, and then the excavator can take the top off, and now you're down to non-frozen material, and you can dig down and all that stuff. So seasonal work, and then you got rains. Depending on what you do, like if you're a top grade guy doing dirt work, once that rain hits, there's nothing you can do anymore. It turns into snot. Your machines, the job shut down for doing dirt work. Unless it stops raining you wait a week or 2 and then it dries up, then you send in someone like a blade or something to cut all the fresh roads, clean up the mud off the top, get all the laborers out there, pump all the water off the job site. If it is worth it, then you can continue maybe for another couple of weeks before the next storm hits or something. So that's a good point. This is my first couple of years as an apprentice. I think my first 2 years I worked like 750 hours. Then the second year I had just gotten my 1,000 hours in for the apprenticeship program, and every year I was sent home in November. Like the first week of November, it rained, bam, go home, not back to work for quite a while. Timothy Phillips, good morning. The crane spotting at the tuna tournament was a hoot. That's cool. That's right. You said you were going to a tuna. We'll stay here for a bit for the channel and the algorithm hack. Thank you. So see if you're still here. Thank you for coming in and hanging out. Windsor, you're in Illinois, so I'm pretty union strong. So our scales now are 48 an hour, but that's the trade off of not working all year. I'm lucky. I work year round. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, there's a certain point. So for the young guys, working year round is lucky. Usually it's someone like us that have been with a single company that we've put our time in. It's there's the old saying, you got to pay your dues. When you start up with a new company, you have to pay your dues. You're the last guy to join the crew. You're the first guy to go home. Unless you make yourself so valuable that they have to keep you around. Like a grade setter. Now, if you can, like, I'm going to push math. Mathematics is a big thing. You have to know your math and understand how the mathematics of a job site work. I want to do a. Oh man, let me see if I actually have. Let me go through my photos here. I've got a photo somewhere of some staking. I don't remember where I put the picture. I'm not prepared for this little piece of conversation, but we have stakes that have information. We call them story stakes. At least that's what I was taught. They have all the information for the depth, width, and all that stuff for your elevation, for your flow line of the pipe, and then you calculate subgrade, rock grade, and all that off of that. But you have to know the mathematic portion of it. So, do I have a pen? All right. Here's a cool pen I got. So, the stake tells you this is your grade rod, okay? You've got a laser set up over here. It's at a fixed height. You've looked at your plans. You know you're at a 1% slope. So you shoot the stake off the hub. You put your laser receiver on there. It goes beep, okay? Those of you in the trade know what that is. So now we have to do math. Math on the stake tells me I've got a cut of 6 feet 2/10. So you have to go down where it's a cut, so we go up. So up is down is up. Our world is weird. So you go up on your grade rod for checking the grade 6 feet 2/10, and put your receiver, put a mark, date. Okay, this is your flow line. Now what happens is your original mark here off your stake was here. So now that you've gone up to your 6 feet, now you bring it down, you're hitting the laser, now you can see this is the bottom of your trench. That's how that grade rod works and the laser works. And that's a very simplified description of how that works. So mathematics, you got to understand all this stuff. It's not rocket science. It's just basic mathematics and understanding of how the elevations work. And also, the deeper you go with elevation, the smaller the elevation number gets, not the larger the elevation. Because when you go up, the number gets larger. When you go down, the elevation gets smaller. John Kennedy. Hey, Lex, what's going on? I was not expecting you to pop in here. Got a question for you. If you wanted to get into heavy machinery operating, would it hurt if I insisted on showing up to work in a dress? Well, they have regulations for that kind of stuff. You are not allowed to show up in a dress unless you work in the office. And even at that, they're probably going to tell you to go change. So, but if you want to be in a dress and show up and be pretty for the guys, go right ahead. I'm sure somebody will enjoy it. How Halloween's always a good time. We have done dress up, and I've run my machine in different outfits before. I still want to do one of those inflatable dinosaurs where I sit in there, inflatable dinosaur trying to run. I don't think it would fit inside the cab, but I think it would be funny to do. Good idea for an app. Always challenging finding food out of town. Yep. So Luna, 100% right. And just check this out. So the Sircles app is great for that kind of stuff. And if here, let me actually, you know what? I have a link. I have a link that will link directly to my chat room. If I can find it. Which is actually what I should have posted. There we go. This is what I should have posted to you guys. So the other link is just to check it out. This link here, I'll pin this one too. Well, I'll replace that pinned message. So if you click that link there, it will take you directly to my Sircles to download the app, and it gives you access directly to my chat room. So that way you can talk to me on my phone if you got a question during the day or whatever. Also, if you sign up and friend me, I get a little bonus. It's not monetary or anything like that. Right now, I am still kind of in discussions. I've talked to the guys developing the application. The application is still new, so it's still. Oh, good God. I'm choking here, literally. So the application is still in development, and they're always making it better. It's all about positivity. No negative reviews are posted on this thing. The guys do not share your information, so this is a more secure application to use. They don't share your information with anyone. They will not ever hand out your information to anyone, even if it's asked for. So that's one of the main reasons why I've invested into this company. And if you feel like investing into the company, Sircles, they're having a crowdfunding right now. They're at a $40 million evaluation. The owners, once they get this thing launched state or countrywide, they're launching it here in California. It is working its way out through people like myself that are trying to push the app to get it countrywide slowly. But once they start advertising countrywide, the owners were telling me they're expecting this application, their company value, to go into the billions. They want to be up there with all the top social media sites like Facebook and all that. So that is going to be a major thing. If you invest in them, you can make a $100 to $1,000 return on your money invested. So it's, up to you if you want to invest. I'm not telling you it's a good idea. There's always a risk with everything. It's just like going into the stock market, but this is pre-stock market. This hasn't even hit the stock market yet. So this would be ground floor kind of investment. All right. Get back to it. Fellas in chat, leave a like for Shane. It helps with the metrics. Yes. I don't have a single like in here, guys. Come on. If you're on a phone, turn your phone vertically, and you can actually see the little thumbs up button down there. So smack that for me. That'll help me. Yeah, don't like digging around high pressure gas. It's stressful. That stuff will auto ignite from the static. If you hit it, and you're toast. Correct. Yep. Timothy, yep, still out here walking the dog. Nice. I did that this morning. I went out and took the dogs out when I got up. I started this live stream about half an hour early. Early. See, I am still waking up. I don't drink coffee, so all I got is water. It's all I drink. I'll drink hot chocolate, which I ran out of, so I don't have hot chocolate to drink this morning. And somebody popped in. No, that was on Instagram. Garbage. Okay. I've only done cranes, literally don't know much about the dirt world, but have tons of respect for y'all. Uh, you guys are the backbone of the IUOE. I don't know about the backbone, but I mean, we're a major part of it. I mean, the dirt work, without dirt workers, the guys doing the top grade, we wouldn't really have a place to put our pipes. So we would put the pipes in the ground, but then the housing industry, they wouldn't have a place to put the housing. So I would say the dirt world is just as much a part of the underground world. Hats off to you, Tim. I've had my crane certs because I had to get them for the apprenticeship, but the cranes are super boring to me, so I let the certs expired. I'd go nuts running a crane. Well, I mean, everyone's got their own little thing. I mean, I'm sure that Timothy would say he has his boring times, and then there's other times that are fairly exciting. Um, One of the things I do that I learned just recently about the cranes, especially those tower cranes, um, they don't just they're not just up there dealing with lifting forces. You have rotational forces, so that steel structure, it can actually twist and bend in all directions, and so they got torsional uh, stresses on the tower that they have to worry about, and so they can't swing too fast with the load. Um, I'm sure Timothy can chime in on something like that, or if you're really interested in that kind of stuff in cranes, Timothy Phillips, if you find his channel, he's got a bunch of stuff on cranes. How much do you need to concentrate on an excavator? Okay, this is more or less a when you're on the machine. So if you're in a high traffic area, you're in an area that's not what we would call open digging. Um, let me. I am going to pull up some raw video footage here, and I'll give you a couple of examples. I came across some. Actually, where is it? I don't know if I have video, but I do have pictures. Where did I put them? Okay. Some examples of things that could be where you, because when you're digging, you're using your brain a lot. I mean, you're concentrating on the dig, and there's a lot going on around you in the ground, and depending on the situation, it's really situation dependent. So some of the pictures you saw that I posted, that I showed last week, where it's just an open trench, there's a lot of hole open. It's fairly monotonous. You're doing the same thing over and over and over. Same moves. Nobody's around. It's just you, your grade setter, and maybe the foreman comes by or an inspector just to see how things are going, and they'll have a little chit chat. Low stress. Your attention is 100% on just the digging. You're not paying attention to what's around you. Let me see. We go over here. So here is a picture of me. I was digging around. You can see there's an old abandoned water line here. Actually, no, that's not abandoned. We had the ability to shut that down for the time period we were crossing it and pulling the shield through. And then we have our conduits. These is electrical lines. Those are 25 kilovolts lines, 25 kV, then communication lines above it. And then I've got another box for a manhole that's going in right at the bottom. This is taking... So I have guys that are walking around me. I have stuff that's happening underneath me as well, like this. So I have a sewer line that is being held up by straps to keep the sewer line level and flowing properly. And I have an I-beam that I buried in the ground, knowing exactly where I was going to need it over the top of that sewer line. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm actually sitting on top of this I-beam. This I-beam isn't just barely across the hole. This is a 40-foot long I-beam that goes out 10 feet outside of the trench on both sides and has no problem supporting the weight of the machine that I'm on. Now this is a 450 excavator. It's a 50-ton machine. A little wider shot there. But here's after I pulled away from it. I'm done with the dig. And you can see it was caving in around underneath. I was digging far enough underneath the I-beam, so I was being held up pretty much by that I-beam. And I went far enough, and I didn't get pictures of it, but I went far enough out off this I-beam to be hanging quite a bit of the machine over the box that you see. And just so I could reach back to the back box, the trench box in the back. So you can see where I'm here and I'm tracked forward. I even tracked further out than that. We didn't get pictures of that. But that is some of the stuff that is stressful and takes a lot of mental ability to concentrate. So the concentration that you're using is you're always thinking, your brain's running at about 100, maybe, probably I would say your brain when you're in dig mode and you're just in an open field, you're running about 85% concentration. And you got a radio, maybe you got a radio on to kind of fill in that other 20% of your brain to keep it somewhat distracted so you're not going insane. And when I get into situations like that, radio's off, I'm 100% concentrated on what's going on because there is so much going on there that it can go bad fast. Should have had a crane for this project. So Timothy, this is 44,000 pound concrete box. The machine was not capable of picking it up. If you can see up in the top corner, that's the end of the stick, and we tied this thing off to the boom right there. So let me grab my example rig. So I had the machine fully extended out, and we wrapped a chain around. There's an open hole right here for the connection, so the stick can pivot. So we wrapped a chain underneath the hydraulic line around here. It was actually a cable, you can see it there, and then hooked up to that to gain lifting force, because the machine that I'm on there is a 480 Cabelco, and its max lifting capacity was 38,000 pounds, I think, at below the ground off the pick point. And the pick point's all based off the tip of the machine, not the actual point that the shackles are at. So where the shackle here is, that's not your pick point. Your pick point is the point at which the cables and the whatnot attach to the machine. That's your pick point. And then we had a big flatbed that came in, and it was high. The flatbed is about 5 feet tall. This was on it, and we couldn't pick it up off the truck. So we had to hook up this way. I managed to pick it up just enough for the truck to drive out from underneath this load. And we had pre-planned this. There's a gigantic hole in the ground. I didn't get pictures of all that stuff. I should have. This is long before, I think this is like 2010, I think, is when I did this. So it's been quite a while since we did this project. And the hole, they spent hours grading the rock and everything. This was a pick and set situation. So there's the road that I'm sitting on was a main thoroughfare in Fairfield, California. And I picked off the back of the truck. I swung it over the hole, and here I'm looking at the box going over the top of my track. I tracked forward. We had a ramp built over the curb and gutter that was on the edge of the road. I tracked up, lowered the boom down. Once I got to a certain point, this box is not coming back out of the hole. So this is a one-shot deal. And the guys spent so much time on grading and everything. We set the box, we put it in there. They had painted everything out exactly where the corners go and all this stuff. They set it in there perfectly. and then unhooked me. I came out of the hole. They got the laser. They shot the top of the box. It was dead nuts. Perfect. And that is something that almost, in at least in our industry, it's very difficult to get that perfect, because once you set that much weight on top of rock, even though you've compacted the rock still may settle a little bit, and you might have to pick it up and regrade it after you've set that much weight on top of your rock. So this situation was a rare example of everything went perfect. So we put the box in, unhooked, backfilled around it, put the top onto it, and then laid all our pipes through it. And this was actually a pressure reducer box, because we had a high pressure line coming through, and that's what we hooked up to. I've actually got comments. Oh my God, I'm falling behind. So in a situation like that, that's 100% concentration on stuff like this. I mean, your mental concentration is just, your eyes get bigger, you're absorbing all that information quick. The dinosaur comment made me think of Fred Flintstone operating in the quarry. He was the original OE. Yeah, he was. And it's funny because they actually had some of the shows that they actually showed him in there running the dinosaur, and that was my first introduction into heavy equipment, was watching Fred Flintstone run a dinosaur digging. So that's a funny message. That's funny. Windsor Atran is he's talking to you all the time. You have to keep track of everything around you and everyone around, plus run the machine while trying to feel with it in case there's a unmarked utility. 100% right there, Windsor. It's a thing that your brain basically runs at that 80 to 100% level all day. 8 to 12 hours a day, your brain is switched to frickin' full throttle. And again, like I said, there's people walking around. That's actually, I kind of got away from what I was talking about. I'm looking for a picture. Oh no. Dude, what did I do with that? I had a whole bunch of pictures that I thought were set aside for this. Because I had a situation where I was digging through people's backyards. I have a video on it. But here's an example of what lack of concentration does. You're not paying attention and bad things happen. Now, this is from back in the 90s. These are all the old school dozers. These are D8s, I believe, running here. They're cutting a slope. This was at a trash facility. We were adding a new road. And this water pool coming up this road got too close to the edge of the slope. And now this is just like a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1 slope. Not very steep at all. So with water pools and water trucks, you have the water that's inside the tank will slosh side to side, and that will shift the weight of the machine. So what had happened, he got too close to the edge, and I don't think I have a picture of the edge, but he got on the cushion, what we call a cushion, and that's like, so when you're driving down the road, and then there's the white line, and there's the edge of asphalt, and then there's a little spot on the road where they have a flat rock or whatever. That's the cushion. That's soft. It's not hard, and it's not designed to hold up a large vehicle like this. You could drive onto it. Sometimes it'll hold. Sometimes it won't. Sometimes it'll just collapse under the weight of the vehicle. And that's what happened here. He got too close to the edge. The edge of the material collapsed on him. The weight of the water shifted and took the machine over. He rolled 3 times, had a seatbelt on. You can see how bad the cab, the ropes or ROPS is, and the cab is bent, but the guy got out and survived. He was perfectly okay. There's another little close-up picture. Now these were all scanned in from an old film. I used to carry an actual camera with me, so I didn't take a ton of photos back then, but I took a few. But I've got a ton of photos in the back I actually need to scan in, and I've got machines stuck in the mud. I've got all kinds of video or pictures of stuff like that. So let me see here. I'll just throw this up there so there's something for you guys to look at. That's my wife and my 2 dogs. The German Shepherd's still alive. The Black Shepherd is gone. This photo was taken 8 years ago, and that's the 870G. That was we had actually picked up the Black Lab that day. No, we picked up the German Shepherd that day. My dog Boomer had died, so my wife was tired of me moping around the house because I was depressed from losing my dog, and she said, let's go over to the SPCA. We picked up the German Shepherd, and this was kind of the introduction because I knew this job site was near where we lived, and it's fenced in, so I didn't have to worry about the dogs running off or anything. And this is more or less a test of the 2 dogs playing together, and they fell in love with each other. It's kind of weird. But anyways, 870, 87-ton machine. 87 or 70 ton, I don't know. It's a big girl, but this one was equipped with GPS, and I dug a big hole. That I have a short video on my channel for that. If you want, I can pop it up and show it to you. We talk about that video. But okay, I'm lost. Where am I? Oh. Okay, Windsor. Okay, I think I'm up. Let me see. Okay. Would it be best to do an apprenticeship with my local after working on non-union for years, or should I continue to stay on the C list? I'm a backhoe guy working in upstream oil and gas. Luna, if you're already on the C list, you're already in the union. I don't know that going to the apprenticeship program would be a benefit to you, other than you already have a job. It's just a matter if you work year round, you're fine. You don't need to go through the apprenticeship program. The apprenticeship program is there for new people coming into the industry, but Windsor is 100% correct. If you go through the apprenticeship program, when you're done with the apprenticeship program, you're an A-list operator, which means you have priority on dispatch out of the union hall. So they have an A, a B, and a C list, and it's all based. So a B list is more or less guys that are vested in the union. You've been in your union hall, so your district that you work and get dispatched out of after a certain amount of time being there, you've earned the right to bump up to a B list, and eventually, I think it's 10 years, you go to the A list. So that's kind of how that works. I'm not going to say I'm 100% correct on that. It's been a long time since I've investigated any of that stuff. But because I went through the apprenticeship program, I was an A-list operator right out of the get-go for my district. Now, if you go outside of your district and sign up at a union hall that's not your primary district, then you're on the C list as well. So it makes no difference at that point if you're signing you're signing up on the out of work list outside of your district, if you're A list or not. Worst part about the apprenticeship to you was the politics. Have to do stuff for a political party that you can't stand and sucks. Wow, I did not have to do any of that. The union would give us apprentices a pamphlet on the voting years, and they would give us all the suggested please vote for these people kind of thing, because because the union is invested and they give money to these people to get them reelected or elected, and in turn they give more work and more ability to give the union raises to the membership, to give us raises. And that's why California is so crazy, is because the local operating engineers 3 is so heavily invested into politics that we have outrageous pay scales here. But those pay scales are warranted because of the cost of living here. So, but for me, I've never really encountered politics. I get more politics in my comments here than I get at work. We talk politics at work. My buddy Andy, he gives me shit all the time. He likes to be the opposite. He's a shit pot stirrer. He'll if he hears something, he'll stick a spoon in there and start stirring it in the opposite direction just to piss you off. He's real good at that. Like, he knows I'm in the airplanes, so every time an airplane goes by, he goes, "Oh, look, that's a B-52. It's not. It's a KC-135 Stratotanker." Shut up, Andy. You don't know what you're talking about. You know, that's my autism, is airplanes. You can always bypass the apprenticeship program, getting a sponsorship from someone like a PM or a superintendent from a signatory contractor. This is true. You can join the union through sponsorship. Either family member, like you said, a sponsorship from a superintendent. Not so much here. Here in California, it has to be the company has to do it. There has to be a company letterhead of recommendation to join the union. Either most of the time right now, because they only want to take certain people into the union, it is the company has to send a personal recommendation from the company. And that's the only way you can actually move up into the operating engineers, through a company. Now, there's some factors. Now, if it's a family thing and a company thing, they're more likely to get you in. There are steps that you can take to get in to the unions. Oh, where am I? That's some creative rigging to change the picking radius and pick the sketchy too. A bit sketchy too. There is no chart for that. No, there is not. There's no chart for that pick. It's a success to considering y'all pulled it off without incident. Yeah, no, that pick was a great pick, and it's one of the things that I remember very fondly and very stressfully, because that was a stressful day to do that. Charts. If the machine's done, don't fall forward, it's all good. That's pretty much how most of our stuff works. I do use the chart as a rule of thumb, because my people in our office, they will basically open up a set of specs. It says the machine can pick this much weight, and they'll send out something that big, like that box of 44,000 pounds. Well, it says the machine can pick it. Yeah, well, the machine's got 8,000 hours on it. It doesn't have that capability anymore, and it's only able to pick that much weight if the pick point is 6 feet below the ground. So, and then they send out a bunch of rigging that's like 8 feet long. I was like, yeah, it doesn't work that way. I don't know how many times I've had arguments with the office over stuff like that. Windsor, thanks, man. I've tried taking some folks here at the hall, and they've told me that it's not possible to be pulled from the C list, but I feel they're not being completely open with me. You can get pulled off the C list if a company actually requests you. So let me see. Get into our policies for the operating engineers, Local 3. If you are a C list operator, you have a 5-year letter. You've worked for a company within the last 5 years. Any one of those companies you worked for in the last 5 years can call the union hall knowing that you're on the list and say, hey, I want this guy back. He worked for us at this date. Boom, you're off the list. Even if, no matter how far down the list you are, they can pull you off, put you to work, because you're a previous employer. Within the last 5 years, they can grab you. Now, once you have a 10-year letter, and this is done through the union. Once you have that 10-year letter, you can go to work for anyone at any time. You can hustle your own work. It doesn't matter if you worked for them in the past or not. You can go seek out your own work. And once you get hired on by the company merely sends a notification to the union, hey, I am pulling this guy to come work for us. And then they'll pull your name off the out of work list, bumping other guys up. So, again, old information from what I used to know. I haven't been on the out of work list in, God, I don't know, 16, 17 years. Not the friendliest folks in the world, if you ask me. I guess you're talking about the people in the union hall, Luna. Yeah, it all sucks. It's being the bottom of the list, especially the C list. The easiest way to go through the apprenticeship is and just deal with the BS for 4 to 6 years. Then you'll be set. I mean, again, if you're already in the union, I don't know if they can move you from a C-list operator that's already getting journeyman wages back down to an apprentice. That would be an interesting conversation, but you got to also remember you're going to be taking a big pay cut to go back to a probationary apprentice, first step, third step, fourth step, however they're doing it these days. That's an interview I actually need to get in with the union hall. I need to talk to an apprenticeship coordinator and get some more information. But yeah, I mean that you're gonna, to me, going backwards is not necessarily a bonus to moving forward. Your best bet: find a company, ingrain yourself into that single company. Call the company you worked for in the last 5 years. Call them up. Say, hey, I need to work. I need to work. Don't bug them every day. Give them a phone call once a week just to remind them that, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to work. Whenever you need me. Oh, this is Windsor. Dude, like every weekend of my first couple of years in the summer, I had to walk door to door. You said dot to door. Either hanging the doors, hinges, hangers, getting signatures for BS, what the fuck, I'm a broke apprentice. Yeah, that happens. I mean, it's a struggle as an apprentice. I mean, you're making less money than a journeyman does, but they're also expecting that the apprenticeship is designed more or less for the young guy that's maybe still living at home or has an apartment, living with friends. So you're all splitting the cost of living. And then it's not until later on when you bump up, get to make journeyman, then you're doing well. And also the apprenticeship program, it gets you ahead of the C list and B list stuff, because on projects, at least I think it's still the same, for every 7 operator hour or every 7 operators that are working on a project, they have to have an apprentice or an apprentice hour. And that doesn't mean that apprentice goes to that project. It just means that they need to have an apprentice within the company working. The way our company does it, they hire a whole bunch of apprentice mechanics, and they put them in the office and at the main shop, and they just kind of mill around. So it's been a long time since I've actually had an apprentice loader hand or grade setter or anything. And I've begged them, get me one, because I've got 4.5 years left. Once I retire out, I'm leaving the area, and the only way they're going to get to train people from me is to watch my videos on YouTube that I've made. So, I mean, unless they want to pay to fly me back here, do training with guys or evaluations or whatever. And that actually, I did discuss that with my company, that they had a training guy for heavy equipment operators for evaluations and things like that. Not much came of it. The company's in a bit of a low slump right now, so that job disappeared. I think the fact is I was making more money as an operator than they wanted to pay me to be an office person. Windsor, and have you used my own gas to do this and don't get anything for it. Yes, I've done that too. I mean, it's part of it. Dude, I've been screwed so many times by the office sending me undersized machines. Yeah, that I mean, they're trying to pinch pennies. They're trying to save money on the job sites. They want the smallest machine that can do the job. I want the biggest machine that can do the job, hence the 870. Just send that out. I don't care if the ditch is only 6 inches deep. I want the biggest machine I can get. Hey Shane, what is your opinion on long reach excavators, those excavators with long boom and long stick? So those are job specific. They're going to have a very small bucket. Let me see if I can find. I'll look it up. No, image. There we go. We'll throw this up. Okay, did not want that. I just want a picture. Damn it. Just show me a picture. Oh, that one's actually a demo one. Oh, yeah. There we go. It's just a model. But anyways, trying to get something bigger here. There you go. So long reach excavator. This is an example of a long reach. They typically have a small bucket on them because with that long reach and long stick, you have a much diminished ability for lifting capacity because all the weight is in the boom and stick. They're very purpose designed for digging ultra deep ditches and cleaning out just cleaning out muck and stuff like that. And there was a picture in there of one doing demo work using a hammer on it so that way the operator can stay safely away from stuff. Now the biggest problem with these machines is the lateral forces when you swing, and if you hit your bucket on something while you're in a swing, you can bend the shit out of these things. So the steel on them and everything can only do so much. When you have that torsional force and you hit the bucket on something, get the example rig. But so if you slam this bucket into something, it will twist all this metal up here. I mean, it'll twist it all, and you just screw it all up. And so this is something that you just don't want to. You got to be sensitive. It's not something you can slam bang and just go to town with. You got to have some feel when you run those machines. I mean, again, I've run one, and that was just because we were digging a pit that was deeper than a standard excavator could reach. So they have their purpose, but I don't see them very often in my line of work. Windsor, oh wow, you guys can solicit your own work. I wish we could. Everyone here has to work off the board. Well, you might want to investigate that, Windsor, because, like I said, 5 years. There's a 5-year letter. So if you've worked anyone you worked for in the last 5 years, you can call them up and say, "Hey, call the list. I'm on the out of work list. I'm available for work." If they know you, for me, I get all my foremen's phone numbers. So that way, I'm not calling the primary dispatch office. I call the foreman. The foreman that remembers who you are is the guy that's going to call the office and say, "Hi, hey, can you call this guy up and rehire him?" And then they'll pull you off the list. That's how I've usually done my rehires, is by doing it that way. And like I said, the 10-year letter and I believe this is an IUOE thing, is you get a 10-year letter and you can hustle your own work. So you need to get your bylaws and learn and read up on your bylaws. Luna, well, that's wild, man. I know the politics are crazy. Yeah. Problem is, I've never worked for a union contractor, so I have no leverage. Okay. So, Luna, are you actually in the union? That's the question. I think I'm missing something here. Are you working full time for this company? If so, just stay doing what you're doing, because I think you're still be a top scale, right? Yeah, and that's the big question. If you're making scale already at the place you're working, don't worry about it. Just, I mean, once it looks like you might lose that job, then you got to worry about it. Uh, that again, Windsor, I'm there with you. I'm there's some information missing here. Wait, you're in the union. You're in the union, and you're working in non-union companies. Yeah, that you can actually get kicked out of the union for that. You can get blackballed. They may not kick you out, but they can blackball you and put you at the bottom of the out of work list, and they will never dispatch you if you get busted working for non-union. And I have talked to guys that have been blackballed before, and they said just whatever it takes, do not get blackballed. Don't do anything stupid. Uh, Luna, I've been working non-union for years without being laid off or fired, but the tip of the pay scale wages of for non-union equipment operators are shit, like 28 to 32 an hour, which is pocket change here in Cali. Yeah, laborers make more than that here. I think my grade checker, which is a laborer, he's making, I think, right around that $40 range. Yeah. So if you're not in the union, you need to get in. Yeah, you definitely need to get in the union so you can get the union wages. And it'll also open the door to get into the union contractor. So if you're not in the union, if you're not a C list operator in the union, the apprenticeship program is the way in. Um, and as long as you can score high and whatnot, you go through the apprenticeship course. I mean, if you're getting paid that $28 to $32 an hour apprentice wages, depending on the area you're working in, go to the union hall, find out what the wages are for apprenticeship pay, and see if you can do it. See if you can go through the apprenticeship program and still be able to afford it. So you gotta figure, if you're making a little bit less in your first and second step, but the third and fourth step are higher than what you normally make, you rough out 2 years, get your first two steps out of the way. Then when you get into the last two steps, you're now making more money than you were as a non-union operator, and things are going better. And then when you're out of the apprenticeship program, now you're up to full journeyman scale. Uh, I don't know, Windsor. Here you can pay 23 a month here to get on the C list while still working. Otherwise, how would I survive in the meantime? So you're paying the union $23 a month to be on the C list? Holy crap. again, Luna, please straighten us out here. Are you in the union? Have you filed the paperwork to be a union member, to be on the C list, or are you just paying to be on the C list in hopes of them calling you one day and dispatching you? Because I realize, because there's a whole lot of stuff that, because I don't know how that actually would work. Being a non-union guy getting dispatched off a union work list, not being signed up, because there's fees and all kinds of things you have to pay to join the union. 23 a month just to be on the C list. I mean, that's not a ton of money to be on the C list, but I don't know if that gets you into the union. So once they dispatch you off to a job. So I mean, 23 a month, that, I mean, that puts you at the bottom below all the members that are on the C list that are actually members of the union. So you're like on the D list if that's what you're doing. I wouldn't even call that C list. So you would be having to wait until every union member out of that union hall was dispatched and working before you would get dispatched. They're just taking money from you at that point. That's my opinion, based off the information that I've got. Holy cow. Yeah, same thing. Windsor, if I was found out to be working non-union, again, getting blackballed, uh, you you would be fined. Uh, they would tell the company to fire you, and then you would just be blackballed. And they can't kick you out of the union necessarily, especially if you're vested, but they can prevent you from working. Um, because of non-payment of fines, or good God, is the amount of mess that you get from doing something like that. But if you're not in the union but you're paying to be on the C list, there's nothing they can do to you because you're trying to get into the union. Okay. Okay. Windsor, you're right. That would make sense. I wish my monthly my dues were that cheap. I'm around 250, 270 a quarter. So mine are around 90 something dollars a month. But again, it's California. Oh, here's an interesting one. Now these long reaches are meant for the for being floating in the water, doing interesting stuff, floating on soft mud and stuff. Oh, birds, pipe. We looked at all that stuff already. I really must have missed something. I think it was here. I got a bunch of photos from work. All right, so here's an interesting one. This was up in the mountains, so you can see we're this was a rip out and replace. So to the right, I have houses. To the left is a river, and we're working in the shaly rock. A lot of trees that we're not allowed to touch, which may die because we dug through the roots. You can see all the different pots and stuff. These are little blow offs or ARVs. and that's an air relief valve for you guys that don't know. Trying to find that one where we were going through people's yards. Yeah, there's a good example of going through people's yards. Just have something to put up that looks a little bit different while we have a conversation about the union. Actman. Love my non-union job. No politics or any of that shit. I get taken care of like family. Wouldn't have it any other way. Oh, good lord, commercials. I almost went union years ago. Glad I didn't. I mean, and it depends on what state you live in. I mean, some guys, I mean, the non-union way is the best way. It just depends on what works for you. And, I mean, I can see that it does. Luna, just paying dude. That makes sense now. That's basically what the secretary told me, that I would most likely not get called. When they're 300 a year, then like 100 a week off my check for dues. So those are supplemental dues. We pay supplemental dues, but it's like, I think, it's, I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like, it started out at like 10 cents an hour worked, went to your supplemental dues, all the way up to 1,800 hours. Once you worked 1,800 hours in a year, they would stop pulling the supplemental dues from your check. And that kept the primary dues down, but our dues here in California are still really high. Okay, Luna, I'm paying to stay on because I am close to a sponsorship because of my skill set and reputation. So if you're looking at a sponsorship, I mean that's good. That's probably your best bet because that guarantees that you're going to be working. If you get sponsored into the union, then it's just a matter of you stay with that company for as long as possible because they have invested in you, and your loyalty to them is your repayment for them getting you in the union. I have seen guys that have used companies to get in the union and then bailed on the company, and then the company reported that to the union, and the union would essentially, when that person would go out of work, they would bump them to the bottom of the list. That's part of the blackball procedure. Is if you do something that's unsavory to a company, you're not going to get hired back. It's called burning a bridge. You're not going to get hired back to that company, and you're losing work and you're losing reputation if you do something like that. So if you get sponsored in to a company, you stick with that company until they tell you they don't need you. There's pros and cons to my state union. The only way to go way better pay and benefits, otherwise I'd be making $25 an hour and no benefits. And that's the big thing here is the reason I'm in the union. And I had other options when I first started out. I was actually looking at doing hazmat work for a company. I would have been a foreman running crews by now for that company, but they didn't have a benefit package at the time. And their pay scale was lower than the apprenticeship program was paying. So I was like, yeah, this is not the kind of work that I wanted to do, and it's not the direction I wanted to go, and I need benefits. So the union was the way to go for me at that time. And it's been great for me. I mean, it's covered my back surgery I got 100% coverage on that. It was a $50,000 operation. I didn't pay a dime for it. All right, Luna. Yeah, it makes sense because in my local, the apprentices will go out before anyone on the B list or lower. The apprentices are basically A list. Not true. That is not true. While they do have an advantage, they don't get dispatched like an A list. The A list is the first. So when a company calls and they need an operator, they're going to go to whatever's available on the list. That's and the whatever if the A list has still got people on it, that's where they're going to draw from first. Then they'll draw from B list and then C list. The apprentices come in when they get to a certain level of people of operators working on a project or within the company. So again, like I said, here it's 7 operators, 1 apprentice. So if more apprentices are getting dispatched, that's because there's a lot of work happening and a lot of apprentices are needed on within other companies to keep up their apprenticeship hours that are required by the union. So being an apprentice, that's the benefit of being an apprentice, is you're getting dispatched just because it's required that companies have a certain amount of apprentice hours based on their employee count. So if that's a benefit to being an apprentice, is you're going to get dispatched earlier than being on a C list just because of the requirements. But it also depends on how many apprentices they have. For a long time, back when I joined, they only took 3 apprentices in 93. They took 7 apprentices in 94. That's when I got in, was 94. I was one of the 7 apprentices they brought into the union for that year. And this is a union at the time. They had over 3,000 operators working, and it was a bit of a low time in the mid 90s. It wasn't until we got up into like 99, 98 when we had the big boom for construction, and they couldn't get enough apprentices. They couldn't train them fast enough to get them into the field, and that's one of the problems we lost. So our ground guys that do all the grade setting are laborers now instead of operators. And that was one of the things that I think that we lost that was huge, that we shouldn't have lost, is making sure that our apprentices were doing groundwork, learning their mathematics and understanding what's going on the project before getting into the seat. Oh. Yeah, California union is the way to go. Cost of living is so high, and the wages haven't caught up, and that's true across the entire country. Okay, Luna. So you're in the local 12 district, Kern County. That does help me quite a bit. Understanding your location and where you're working out of, it makes a bit of a difference. Uh, True. Yeah, Windsor. The apprentices are on their own list, but they are more likely to get dispatched than anyone below the A list, um, at least in your local. So yeah, it's and we have our share of problems with apprentices right now. The policies that we have in place here are causing more problems, whereas back in the day, early 90s, um, it was hard for white people to get in, even though they were the primary workforce at the time, and they were the highest skilled level, because most of them are coming from a farmer background or a country background that gave them an advantage on understanding of certain things. In the 90s, they went to, they started going towards women, black, Indian, whatever else, anything but a white person. Unless you were a white female, then you could get in. But a white male getting in. So at that time, you could say I was racially segregated because of my color. I mean, it's a fact, and that was by law. So the state and the government and the unions and stuff like that were biased in that direction because of the political affiliations, and it still stands true today. And they want to know why our work ethics and just people working in general are not the same as what they used to be. It's because they refuse to hire the people that are the best at what they do. They just hire a demographic, and that's the problem with the country right now. But that's getting into politics, and I'm not huge on politics. I talk about them, but I don't like to talk about them here. All right, so I guess we're all starting to peter out. We're what? Oh, God, we're like an hour and a half into this? All right, guys, I think we're all starting to peter out on this conversation. Lunar, Windsor, thank you for hanging out, talking about that. We're still trying to, we'll probably try to figure it out some more next week, see where you're at. Tran, if you're still here, I hope that opens your eyes to a little bit to how the union and non-union works in industry. My idea has always been find a company that you like, work with that company. Don't look for outside work other than, I mean, because people will offer you 50 cents or $1 more to go work for them if you're good. I have job offers that come to me on a regular basis. They want to pull me away from the company I'm with. My full intent is to retire from this company and, finish off my career here. I have some loyalties that lie within the company to some people in the office that have helped me over the years. So I'm dedicated to keeping my place here because they have helped me move ahead in my career and to get me to the point I'm at. So I have loyalty to a few of the people within the company. The company in a whole, not necessarily 100% loyal to them, but they're the people that have got me where I'm at are the people I'm loyal to. So along with my crew. So my crew, I'm not going to bail on my crew unless the crew falls apart and there's no reason for me to be there anymore. But anyways, thanks guys for hanging out and just chatting. This was this took a interesting turn. Maybe we get some more information. I need to make a call to the union hall and actually get some more information on the apprenticeship program and some other things like the program I went through. What the hell was it? I can't. Oh God, senile seizure. All right, guys, I'm just gonna sign this off because my brain is starting to lag. So, thanks for hanging out. As always, keep your butt level and your ditch straight. We'll talk to you next time. Where's that off button?